Hello everyone, this is Scarzig. Today I just have a quick replay review. This isn't live. This was a match that I had when I happened to not be recording, and it just ended up being so hilarious. I wanted to show it off to you guys and just go over a few things because it gets pretty ridiculous. As you can see, I'm going up against somebody with a lot of Vitruvian wins, and I have to replace my whole hand. I do decide to keep the Rosh's Curse to counter an early Spectral Blade, because that's what Abyssine uses to control the early game Spectral Blade alongside Night Sorrow Assassin. So that's also what I'm trying to do with this particular deck that I worked up. I try to control the board as best as I can while setting up a Dervish for Third Wish. Most of the time, you want a Sand Howler because it's immune to spells, so it's very, very hard for your opponent to deal with it once you get rolling. My opponent makes a pretty strange play here and moves the Saberspine Tiger up instead of trading into the Primus Fist for control or just getting the face damage. This is actually a type of experimental opening. Smash Things was theorizing about a few of the different styles of openings, especially when you have a Saberspine Tiger. I think that him taking that center mana tile was actually incorrect, because I still get access to the top and bottom mana, and I get to take out his Saberspine Tiger with the Rosh's Curse. It does feel a bit bad spending it, because if he has a Spectral Blade, you know, I'll just feel so bad, but I set up the Orb Weavers along the top there, and looking at the board state now, he can still attack one and then Night Sorrow Assassin the other, or if he has another Saberspine Tiger. But this particular setup with using the Rosh's Curse to take out the Saberspine Tiger, I felt gave me the highest chance of keeping one of the Orb Weavers alive. But the Grasp of Agony just comes through, so that's that. Now, right here, we can see my hand. I do have the Sand Howler, which I do want to try to set up. And my opponent is trying to pressure me very hard here. Luckily, the Saberspine Tiger was a pretty weak opening overall, as it turns out. But again, I'm trying to dig for another Rosh's Curse as well, because Spectral Blade is a card that lets Abyssine really snowball on you. And just to make a quick note, placing the Sand Howler here on this corner is the safest spot when it comes to keeping it away from Night Sorrow Assassin and other things, because he can move 2 over. If I were to place it here, he can move 2 over, summon the Night Sorrow to kill it. So summoning it down here makes it a bit safer. If he has another Saberspine Tiger, then it would still die, but placing it on that square is the safest bet. When you're setting up a minion with Blast, you want it on this center column here so that it has vertical access to every row on the map. And so I just get in the attack with the Scion's First Wish onto the Primus Fist so that it's able to trade into the Healing Mystic, get some damage off, and it lets me draw an extra card at the end of my turn. Alright. And so my opponent here sets up the Shadow Dancer in the top corner, which is fine because I haven't equipped any artifacts. With this deck, I actually have a few Staff of Vakir that I use to control the early game, like a really, really poor man's Spectral Blade. So luckily the Shadow Dancer things didn't take off any artifacts or stuff like that. But I do get the second Rosh's Curse, and again, it does feel really, really bad having to use it in this fashion, because if he has a Spectral Blade or something else, then it's very, very hard for me to deal with it outside of just throwing bodies at it. And right here, the Doomcaster buffs the Rush minion, the Rosh's Curse Dervish to take out the Shadow Dancer, and I summon it here to keep him away from the Sand Howler as best I can. because he can still move down and Saberspine Tiger. But if I hadn't summoned the Dunecaster here, or if I put it somewhere else, he'd be able to move over and have more access to the Sandhowler. And so down comes the Vorpal Reaver, which is very difficult. Vitruvian has a really hard time dealing with large threats like this outside of Entropic Decay, but normally Entropic Decay is extraordinarily slow because the mana cost is really high and the minion has to be near you, of course. Which in this case it is, but I'm not running Entropic Decay because I don't like it. It might be nice to tech in one, I suppose, if you're having trouble with that sort of thing. But luckily for me, I do have the Siphon Energy, so that its dying wish of summoning 6 Wraithlings isn't going to go off. But I am, however, going to take this 6 damage like a man in order to clear it alongside the Star's Fury. And I do have, again, Scion's First Wish. That buffs the Sandhowler out of Night Sorrow Assassin range. And so, because I feel a bit safer with the Sandhowler now, I move it back up to the central row so that I have access once I get Third Wish. As you can see, this has not happened yet. I'm running 2 of them in this deck. You probably, if I was running really, really heavy on Dervishes with Obelisks and whatnot, 3 Scion's Third Wish would probably come in handy. But for this deck, since I'm focusing on mainly casting it on Sandhowlers and Orb Weavers, having the 2 is fine. But the problem is this game is I do not draw Third Wish. And that's what made this game so hilarious, because you see me like guarding this Sandhowler with all my might, and my opponent is throwing so many resources into trying to break my defensive formation and kill this Sandhowler. Now he's backing up because I took out the Vorpal Reaver. And so I think that right now he's just going to try to set up his engine with like Shadow Dancer, Blood Moon Priestess or something to just try to ping me out and outlast the Third Wish. Because right now things are getting pretty dire. If he has another Saberspine Tiger with a Shadow Reflection or something like that, then I'm easily in range of being finished off. And so I just keep replacing, and I'm not getting Third Wish. And I honestly, it went from like exasperation to me starting. I was starting to laugh when I was playing this match, because just not getting Third Wish was just frustrating me, because I had the Sandhowler buffed, set up in the perfect position, and I had spent the entire game like defending it, and it just wasn't coming through. I could have had this game won already, because Abyssian doesn't really have anything. I don't think they have any answers to deal with a Sandhowler once it gets buffed beyond a certain range, because of outside of maybe against Saberspine Tiger, Shadow Reflection. And if they use that key combo to take out a big creature instead of spending it on your face or as a finisher, then it sets them really, really behind. And down comes the next Vorpal Reaver, which is another threat that I need to deal with. The problem is I don't want to hit this thing with my General again, and I don't have another Siphon Energy for it. I'm replacing the Sandhowler because I'm still hoping for Third Wish. Third Wish would have allowed me to move the Sandhowler down and burst this thing. But it's looking now, since I'm in such a dire spot, this thing has celerity. If I don't take it out, my General's going to take 12 damage, and then I just die. So thinking about what to do. I end up using the Dunecaster to buff the Sandhowler to trade with the Vorpal Reaver. And let me tell you, I felt so bad having to do this, because I spent so much time defending the Sandhowler. And I cast the Dunecaster down here, of course, so that it's farther away from his minions, but the 6 Wraithling spawns are random, so I'm just getting those cleared out, and now Dunecaster has become the recipient of all my defense. The fortunate thing is I'm drawing into all of my healing. And I did consider playing the Primus Fist here, but the thing is Primus Fist buffs attack and not health, of course, so Dunecaster's going to die to everything anyway, so I just put it here to buff these Emerald Rejuvenators. So I have a really nice defensive formation over here. My opponent is starting to get into the later stages of the game, and I'm seeing a lot of Swarm coming out from them, which is something that this deck struggles with so badly, is if I get shoved into the corner and my opponent is just dropping pressure on me, Vitruvian can't really do much. I got so fortunate that my opponent, instead of just dropping like 2 or 3 small guys, ended up dropping 2 big Vorpal Reavers that I was able to deal with appropriately at the time. And we got the Sarlaccs putting in work with Ritual Banishing. Now that Abyssian has Night Sorrow Assassin to kind of help them control the early game and take out big stuff, Sarlacc becomes a lot more of a safer pick for them at 3 mana. And then that just allows them to start their engine up with the Darkfire Sacrifice, what's it called? I just said it. Ritual Banishing. Nether Summoning, it's also very good because it kills your Sarlacc, and it essentially duplicates Sarlacc. Makes it into a 2/2. And so here I am, on the other side of the map, from my opponent, still desperately digging in my deck for Scion's Third Wish. I don't need the Staff of Akir, because I'm not in range of anything that is going to die to it. And I'm still I'm still not getting the Third Wish. It's absolutely ridiculous at this point. And so I've fallen now to defending a Dunecaster, defending a 2/1 minion in the hopes that I can buff it and win the game. And fortunately, these Sarlacc spawns are being pretty nice to me. And I wanted to originally summon the second Orb Weaver like here or here, but by putting it here, I get the Primus Fist buff. And this, of course, ends up being really bad because of Grasp of Agony, which is what you'll see here in a second. It turned the tables pretty much, since he had dumped so many resources into moving towards this side of the board and trying to whittle me down. And I just drew into my healing, and I managed to weather the storm with a couple clutch plays. Took 6 damage like a man, and now my opponent only has a couple Sarlaccs on the field. And I was hoping that I could send this little envoy of my minions over there to deal the damage, but not going to happen. At first I was actually confused by the demonic lore, because I was like, why wouldn't he just Grasp of Agony? But demonic lore here makes it so that Grasp of Agony hits all of them, and this would normally be devastating, right? To have five of your guys just die for free to Sarlaccs, because he's not even attacking with his general to take damage. Sarlacc trades into those for free, clears 5 guys for 1 mana, consuming Rebirth, gets him a 3rd Sarlacc. This is where the engine really starts to go for Abyssian. This is actually the kind of play that I like to see from that faction. Before, when they were like just doing burn, it was like really brainless, and it was like really boring to play against, and probably to watch for a lot of people. But when they have this battle of attrition gameplay, when they're whittling away at your guys with, you know, little 1/1 Wraithlings and stuff, it fits their theme a lot more. Once they get the engine going with Shadow Dancer, Bloodmoon Priestess and stuff, and they're just like wearing you down, I really appreciate that kind of gameplay. So I clear the Sarlacc, and it spawns away from the Dunecaster. This is, I'm getting favored right now, keeping this thing up. And as you can see, I have 16 cards in the deck. We're both at 9 mana, and I have yet to draw 1 Scion's Third Wish. And it's just completely blowing my mind. I could have won this game forever ago. And even, like, putting it on the Dunecaster, he could have killed it with, Demonic Lore, that other turn. But he decided to use it to clear out those 5 guys. Probably, now that I'm like reviewing the replay, it was probably a misplay on his part. And here comes the Soul Grimoire, and he's going to cash in with all these Sarlaccs. And I finally realized what he was doing. He was like getting the Swarm going with those Vorpal Reavers so he could cash in on the Soul Grimoire. But luckily a Mara Healer pings the Soul Grimoire with its effect. When a Mara Healer dies, it deals 5 damage to your opponent and heals you for 5. So basically it creates a 10 HP difference. And so here, we're getting back into the corner again. Now that my opponent has had time to back off and recuperate, and I sent all my guys in a big huddle to die to Grasp of Agony. The Abyssian General is closing in on me, but I get my 3rd Rash's Curse, and this is why we run 3 of them. Because you never know when you're going to need 2 damage. It breaks artifacts, and Dunecaster can buff it and make it permanent. So sometimes you can get 4 damage with Rush. Dunecaster, Rash's Curse, 3rd Wish is a fantastic surprise combo. And I've got my other Amara Healer. And I got to take out that Sarlacc. But the spawns are still in my favor. Well, actually, no. He can move this Sarlacc down to kill it, and then this Sarlacc kills the Healing Mystic, and then this one trades into the Dunecaster. So the spawns were almost still on my side there with the Sarlacc. And then it spawns right next to him, so it was this Dunecaster's destiny to finally die. Mara Healer dies again because of another Soul Grimoire. It's absolutely nuts. Now that like I've spent so much time like defending Dunecasters and stuff, and now my opponent is closing in on me with this crazy artifact. I'm out of Rash's Curse now. And desperately clinging to the Sand Howler. Now my card advantage is disappearing. And I have no Scion's 3rd Wish still to show for it. Still, I've been replacing, drawing 2 cards every turn. There's 11 cards left in the deck. And at this point, I've like given up hope. I'm like, this 3rd Wish isn't coming through. It's not going to save me. But, we've got the Soul Grimoire coming through here. And because he's completely just thrown stuff at those Amara Healers, he doesn't have anything to clear them. The 10 HP difference, well 20 HP you could say, because it healed me for 10 overall, dealt 10 to him overall, so that's a 20 HP spread. But now the Soul Grimoires are coming. He knows I've used all 3 Rash's Curse if he's been counting. So I need to run something into this guy to take out the Soul Grimoire. And luckily I do have Star's Fury. And putting the Orb Weaver here with Cosmic Flash is very smart to defend myself in this corner. But he is closing in. The Star's Fury is really going to come in handy here. And I do have the Wildfire Ankh. I'm only running 1 of them in this deck. It's just there for if the need arises. I've had games where I'll set up the 3rd Wish, and then my General is there with the Wildfire Ankh, and then I'll have something with a Cosmic Flesh on it, walling my opponent away, and then just controlled blasting. And it's really hard to set up. It's fantastic when you do set it up. It's just like the main gimmick of this deck is provoke, set up 3rd Wish. I even replaced the Wildfire Ankh, even though I could get value out of it. And I still don't get it. The Star's Fury here allows me to kill a ranged unit, take out the Soul Grimoire, and trade into this Healing Mystic. And then I just move the Orb Weaver up to taunt the Sarlaccs and the Abyssian General. This is still looking pretty grim. Fortunately, I've been able to come out of this relatively unscathed because of Amera Healer, but that is all of this deck's late game. I've got 2 Amera Healers, a couple Stars Fury, but outside of that, for when things get really sketchy, this is pretty much all I've got. I finally get the Scion's Third Wish. This game has been dragging on for centuries. Got 9 cards left in the deck, and I finally get Third Wish. Got the Provoke here, so that he cannot get at the Sand Howler, and it's been buffed outside of Night Sorrow range, of course. Because it can't be targeted by enemy spells, he can't even use Ritual Banishing on it either. And my opponent is also running out of cards. And so now here I go, oh, I can finally put the Third Wish on and kill him. And I don't even need Provoke because I already have them on the board. And I replace the Lady Locke, and I get the second Scion's Third Wish. I spent this entire game desperately searching for them, and I managed to hold off and then get both of them onto one Sand Howler. And this game was really stressful. I think that overall, if my opponent would have held onto his Soul Grimoires and waited to close the gap before he equipped them and did damage, he might have been able to surprise me. But because of the nature of that card, you kind of need to cash in when it's available. But I think he could have taken things a bit slower. Well, maybe he couldn't have because he was fearing the Third Wish. So, all in all, it was pretty funny game because I was just defending my one side of the board and my creatures trying to get Third Wish, and it didn't show up until way at the end. So I hope you enjoyed this little replay review. I thought this was a really ridiculous game that I wanted to share. Managed to weather the storm. So I'll see you next time, and you have a good one with more Vitruvian.